Good morning, everybody. Welcome to IELTS Dedicated. This is session number 1. So I don't anticipate this is going to be a very popular class, which is actually good news for you guys, because if you have a question, I can almost definitely answer it. Sound good? So if at any point you have a question, raise your hand. I'll be able to call on you. It probably will not be a difficult thing. Now, what is the IELTS? The IELTS is an English test. It's very similar to the TOEFL. Why do people take the IELTS? They take the IELTS to, in most cases, go to university. So it's actually a partnership between, I believe, the United Kingdom and Australia. So you'll see that this test is very popular in the UK. It's very popular in Australia. But a lot of people think that only the TOEFL is accepted in America. That's not really true. That's not really true. IELTS is accepted in America at the majority of institutions. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying the majority of them. So if for some reason TOEFL is not your cup of tea, get it? UK, British cup of tea, get it? If IELTS or if TOEFL is not your cup of tea, then of course look at the IELTS. Now the IELTS is more interesting, in my opinion, than the TOEFL. And the reason why is because it has a lot more variety, okay? It just has a lot more variety. It's a little bit less predictable, so it has more variety. It's also more conversational. So one thing about the TOEFL is it's very academic. You know, the reading passages are academic. The listening passages are academic. The IELTS is a little bit different. It's more almost like you're reading a magazine article. So it's a little bit more entertaining in that respect. Hey, Niaz, you have a question?
Hey Greg, yes, I have a question.
Sure.
What do you think? Which one is easy for students to sit for IELTS or TOEFL?
Let me answer that question right now because that's a good question. I often get the question, which one is easier? To be honest, I would say neither, because if you want to get a perfect score on the IELTS, you know, like a 9.0 or an 8.5 or something like that, and if you want to get a very high TOEFL score, let's say 115 to 120, essentially you have to be perfect, right? Which means 0 mistakes. So from that perspective, they're kind of both difficult. I mean, if you start making mistakes in the IELTS or you start making mistakes in the TOEFL, your score is going to rapidly go down. But what I can tell you is that the IELTS is a little bit more interesting. So you're less likely to get bored. You're less likely to lose your concentration. However, if you're a school, like a university, in some ways the TOEFL might be more useful, because the TOEFL tests more of the academic skills, whereas the IELTS is more just straight up English. But if they accept both, hey, fine, we'll do the IELTS. All right, we have a question from Ritwick. Hey, Ritwick. You have to unmute your microphone. Going once. Going twice. All right, moving on. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what materials you should be using. Quality materials. Let's just get this out of the way. Third-party stuff is shit. Do not use it. It sucks. Third-party stuff sucks. Do not use it. And the good news about IELTS is that it has a crap ton of practice tests. Real tests. Let me show you some examples here. So if you're going to get IELTS material, you definitely want to get this Cambridge IELTS paper series, or whatever it's called. And they have like 15, 16 of these books, something crazy. Each one of these books has 4 tests in it. So for example, there's 4 IELTS tests in here. There's 4 IELTS tests in here. There's 4 IELTS tests in here. So let's imagine that they have 16 of these books. How many practice tests is that, everybody? 64. 64 practice tests. That should be enough, shouldn't it? That should be. Do you guys need more than 64 practice tests? No, in reality, you probably only need about 5 to 10, right? 5 to 10. So here's a question. Do you want to choose the more recent ones or the earlier books? Recent or earlier? Yeah, you definitely want to choose the more recent ones. So if you get a choice, go for numbers like 15, 13, even 10 would be okay, but try to get books that are more recent, the higher number. Yeah. I mean, Rishika said get the latest book. Sure, you can get the latest book, but keep in mind that's only 4 tests. Rishika. So, I think you need more than 4 tests, right? They're not free. Each book, in America at least, is like $25 or something like that. Okay? Please do not use GregMat as a forum for piracy. Okay? Yeah, please do not use it as a forum. Now, maybe in India or in your country, maybe these books are cheaper. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Okay? Any questions about materials? Any questions about materials? Do not use third party. Hey, Ridwick, did you fix your microphone? Hello?
Hi,
Ridwick?
Greg.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. Greg, I had a question.
Sure.
So, how much is the GRE verbal similar to IELTS?
Oh,
Like the
not
preparation
similar
for
at
it?
all. Not similar at all.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, it's very, very different.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Taciturn says, why shouldn't we use third party? Because the third party stuff, I mean, if I just had to give one word to it, it's just trash, I guess. I mean, if you're in the woods, it's cold out, you need to start a fire, you can use a third party book as kindling. But if you're studying for the IELTS, no, you definitely don't want to use third party stuff. Yeah. All right, so here's an interesting thing about IELTS. You don't start with the reading, you start with the listening. So we're going to talk about listening here, everybody. Listening first. With the TOEFL, listening is actually quite difficult because the lectures are very long. You have to get the main idea, you have to get the details, you have to make inferences, figure out people's tone, and stuff like that. IELTS listening has one trick, and one trick only. It's just a giant vocab test. That's all it is. So, for example, the listening passage will say something like, I don't want to eat at this restaurant because it is too expensive. And then the actual question will say, the person chooses not to eat at the establishment because the price is too high, or something like that. So what they do is, in the listening passage and the question, they change the vocabulary, but the meaning is the same. That's all it is. They change the vocabulary, but the meaning is the same. The meaning is the same. Okay? So put it this way. If your vocab is good, there's no reason why you cannot get a perfect score on IELTS listening. Is there an IELTS vocab list? After class, I'll take a look. I'll see if I can find something I like, but right now I don't have one. But Taciturn, I'll take a look after class, okay? All right. There is a couple things about IELTS that are different, though. So number one, you see the questions first. So that's different than the TOEFL, right? You see questions first. Number two, answers go in order. Answers are in order. So what that means is, as you answer number 6, immediately after that, they're going to say the answer to number 7. Number 3, this is important. The IELTS is very, very strict. What that means is, if you spell something wrong, do you get the point? Yes or no? No, you do not get the point. If you don't follow the directions, so sometimes the directions will say you have to write one word. If you write 2 words, do you get a point? No. So it is true that IELTS listening is easier in terms of the questions they're asking you. It is true that it is more straightforward because it's just a giant vocab test. However, you cannot make a spelling mistake. You cannot misread the directions. So that's a little bit different than TOEFL, because on TOEFL, all you have to do is choose A, B, C, D, E, or whatever it is, right? It's relatively straightforward in that sense. Okay, so I think we should just look at an example here. How about we just look at an example? Okay, this right here is going to be what they call section 1 of the listening. Each section has 10 questions. So section 1 has 10 questions. So here are the first 6, and then here are the next 4, 7 through 10. Let me show you what I mean by it being a giant vocab test. All right. Do you see where it says address? Right here. They might not use the word address. They might say, for example, where do you live? So if you're listening for the word address, are you going to hear it or maybe not? You maybe will never hear it. That's what I mean by this is a giant vocab test. They might use the word address, but they might not. They might say, excuse me, where do you live? Hey, where do you live? Excuse me, where do you live? So they might never use the word address. So just keep that in mind. Look at this one right here. Heard about company from. They might use the word heard. They might not. What's another way to ask this? What's another way to ask this? Think about it. Hey, where did you learn about us? They could say something like that. Where did you learn about us? Hey, did somebody refer you? Can you tell us the source of where you heard from us? Something like that. Okay, look at number 3. Customer wants to visit some blank parks with her children. Maybe they will not say the word children. Maybe they'll say the word kids. Maybe they won't use the word once. Maybe they'll say something like desire. Maybe they will not use the word visit. They'll use the word go. Do you get what I'm saying here? Does everyone get what I'm saying here? This is how IELTS tests your English. Okay? This is how IELTS tests your English. It's very different than the TOEFL, right? The TOEFL measures your ability to get the main idea, to get details, to make inferences, stuff like that. This is literally just testing your ability to comprehend stuff. Not a main idea, nothing like that. Just comprehend stuff one by one. How about this one? Customer wants to stay in a lodge, not a blank. So maybe they might phrase it as the customer prefers to avoid something. And then you would put the answer here, avoid. Customer wants to see the blank on the way to Cambria. Do you think they'll use the word on the way? Maybe not. Maybe they'll say toward or going to or something like that. En route. Yeah, Rishika, that's a good one. En route might be something they say. Okay? And then finally, at San Diego, wants to spend time. Are they going to say spend time? Maybe not. They might say something like wants to enjoy or something. Who knows, right? Okay. And then finally, remember, I told you this is very strict, right? How many words am I allowed to write? Look at the very top. See this right here? If I write more than one word, do I get a point? You do not get a point. Okay. Are you guys ready to listen? All right. Here we go. Let's do it. I'm going to pause it just to show you how IELTS works, everybody.
Cambridge English.
Can you hear that? Okay, everyone, before we begin, go get a cup of tea, right? Also known as a cup of joe. All right, here we go.
IELTS 10. Published by Cambridge University Press and Cambridge. There will be time for you to read the answers to an answer sheet. A travel agent and a customer. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6.
So let's stop right there. So the first thing that IELTS does differently is they let you look at the questions. But keep in mind, this is not a significant amount of time. This would be like 20 to 30 seconds. So everyone go ahead and take a look at the questions.
You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
So here is another thing about the IELTS. They actually give you like this example in the beginning. Keep in mind, you're going to hear this twice. You're going to hear the example, and then they're going to say it again when they play it in full. And the example is usually just to get you used to the accent. It's just to get you kind of familiar with how it works. So here we go. Let's listen to this example.
Good morning, World Tours. My name is Jamie. How can I help you?
Good morning. I want some information on self-drive tours in the USA. Could you send me a brochure?
Of course. Could I have your name, please?
Andrea Brown.
Now, one thing about the IELTS is you have to spell things correctly. If you have a really easy last name like Brown, are they going to spell it for you? No, they're not. But if it's a complicated last name, they will spell it. So let's see if she spells this. Let's see.
The customer's
Nope.
name is Andrea Brown. So Brown has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good morning, World Tours. My name is Jamie. How can I help you?
Good morning. I want some information on self-drive tours in the USA. Could you send me a brochure?
Of course. Could I have your name, please?
Andrea Brown,
Thank you. And your address?
24 Ardley Road.
Right there. Now, they use the word address, which means, oh, this is an easy one because they're not changing the vocab. But notice what word she just said. Ardley. Does anybody know how to spell that? No. So what makes this difficult is she's going to spell it. And for some reason, non-native speakers have a very difficult time when people spell words. Do you guys find that difficult when people spell words? Right? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So here we go. Get ready. She's going to spell it.
Can you spell that?
Ardleigh Road.
Postcode?
BH5.
Okay, so Ardleigh. No, I told you it's not that easy, right? Make sense? And notice she said that only one time. Did she say it twice? No, she was like Ardleigh, right? And of course they say H, right? H. I love that. Schedule. H, schedule. Okay, here comes the postcode. Postcode's already written in. Now, why is that important? Why is it important that they're saying the postcode? What does that allow me to do? It allows me to know where I am. Doesn't it give me the location? It allows me to know where I am. So let's imagine you missed the spelling here. What should you do? Should you move on or focus on it? Obviously, move on. Obviously. Do not focus on number 1 if you missed it. If they start talking about the postcode, move on. Just take the loss. Okay? Here we go. Number 2, heard about the company from. Let's see what she says.
2OP.
Thanks. And can I have your phone number?
Is a mobile all right?
Fine.
It's 07786 643 091.
Thank you. And can I ask you where you heard about World?
So where did you hear about it? So they have not changed the vocab. So sometimes IELTS does this because it's like a free point. It's almost like, okay, we feel bad about Ardleigh. Here's a free point, everybody.
Tours? From a friend, or did you see an advert somewhere?
Right there. Stop right there. What makes this difficult is not that they changed the vocab. What they did is they gave you multiple options. So this is another trick that IELTS likes to do. They give you multiple options. So notice he said, did you hear about us from a friend or an advert? Now my guess is she's going to say something different. So a third choice. Let's see what she says.
No, I read about you in the newspaper.
I read about you in the newspaper. So the correct answer is going to be newspaper right there. Okay? Makes sense, everybody? So right now you're seeing some of their tricks. So trick number 1, give you a word that's hard to spell. Trick number 2, change the vocab, right? Change the vocab. Trick number 3, give you multiple options. All right, let's look at number 3. Customer wants to visit some blank parks with her children.
Okay, I'll get the brochures in the post to you, but can I give you some information over the phone? What kinds of things do you want to do on your holiday?
I'm interested in going to California with my family. I've got 2 children, and we want to hire a car.
Okay, we have a couple of self-drive tours there, visiting different places of interest in California. The first one begins in Los Angeles, and there's plenty of time to visit some of the theme parks there.
Right there. So notice there's plenty of time to visit some of the theme parks. But do we know if the customer wants this? We don't know yet, so they might be trying to trick us. Let's see.
That's something on my children's list, so I'd want to include that.
Okay, notice there. That's something on my children's list. I'd want to include that. So the correct answer is theme parks. Okay. What trick did they use here? The trick that they used here was order. Notice that they actually said the answer theme way before she started talking. Did you guys hear that? They used the word theme before the woman started talking. The guy's like, would you be interested in visiting some theme parks? He's like, oh yeah, that's definitely on my list. So if you're waiting for the woman to talk, you're going to get it wrong. Make sense? Make sense, everybody? Okay, number 4. Customer wants to stay in a lodge, not a something. Let's take a look.
Good. Then you drive to San Francisco. From San Francisco, you can drive to Yosemite Park, where you spend a couple of nights. You can choose to stay in a lodge or on the campsite.
Okay, there it is. You can choose to stay in a lodge or a campsite. Let's see what the customer chooses.
I don't like the idea of staying in a tent.
Right there. I don't like the idea of staying in a tent. So it seems like you probably have 2 choices here. You can put the word tent or you can put the word campsite. It seems like the IELTS in many cases allows you to choose 2 different answers, right? They allow you to choose 2 different answers. Now here's an interesting question. What if you were to write down like this, campsite? Would you get it right or would you get it wrong? You would get it wrong because remember, 1 word only. They're very strict about that.
It'd be too hot.
Right. And the tour
Hot.
ends in Las Vegas.
Okay.
The other trip we can arrange is slightly different. It starts in San Francisco, then you drive south to Cambria.
Then you drive south to Cambria. Here we go.
Someone told me there's a really nice castle near Cambria.
There it is. Somebody told me there's a really nice castle. So what is it? Castle. That's how an American would say it. Castle. 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 Whereas the British are castle. Greg hates Brits? No way. The Brits are like my brothers. You know, you always make fun of your brother, right? Yeah, you can't hate the Brits. Yeah, we're like brothers, right? Okay. So keep reading.
Will we go near that?
Hurst Castle is on that road, so you could stop there.
Good. I'd like to do that.
I'd like to do that. So notice, she didn't say, I want to see that. She said, I'd like to do that. So that's that changing vocab that I'm talking about.
Does this trip also go into the desert?
No, it continues to Santa Monica, where most people like to stop and do some shopping.
We have enough of that at home, so that doesn't interest us.
Okay. Well, you could go straight on to San Diego.
That's good for beaches, isn't it?
So wants to spend time on the beaches. Notice she never said, I want to spend time on the beaches. But she did say, that's good for beaches, right? So one possible answer is going to be beaches.
That's right. That's a good place to relax, and your children might like to visit the zoo before flying home.
Notice they never use the word spend time. They use the word relax. And what they did is they introduced another option called the zoo. So let's see which one she prefers.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So which one's out? The beaches or the zoo? The zoo is out. No, the zoo is out. She doesn't want the zoo. Vishu says the castle. Wrong question, Vishu.
We want some time for sunbathing and swimming.
We want some time for sunbathing and swimming. So where does she want to be? She wants to be on the beaches. Now, what if I were to write down the word swimming here? Would it be the correct answer? No, it would be wrong. Can somebody tell me why? Grammar, right? These sentences have to be grammatically correct. You cannot say on the swimming. It doesn't make sense. So, beaches, right there. Manvi says, we'll write beaches or beach. My rule of thumb, Manvi, is always write down what they said. And what they said is beaches. However, I bet you IELTS would say beach is okay too. Okay, makes sense? What beach is in San Diego? They have like Mission Beach, La Jolla. La Jolla is where UCSD is. They have stuff like that. Coronado. Coronado is another famous beach there. Yeah, I'm not a beach guy. I'm not a beach guy. I am a castle guy. Yes. All right, so let's review. What are they doing here? Number one, they sometimes ask us to spell. Number two, they give us multiple options, and we have to choose the correct one. Number three, sometimes they change the order. Number four, sometimes they give us multiple options, both of which are correct. Number five, again, they kind of change the order or change the vocab. And then finally, multiple options, and then we have to choose the correct one. Rishika says, what would I choose for tent and campsite? I would probably choose the word tent, but I do think both of these are correct. I do think both of these are correct. Okay, let's take some questions. Does anybody have any questions about this? Remember, every time you ask a question, somebody learns something, so I do encourage any questions if you have any. All right, we have a question from Ruchika. Hey, Ruchika.
Hey, Greg. I think my question is when we write the answers, or do we write in caps or small, or is it acceptable?
They don't care
in
about
any
that.
way?
Yeah, they don't care about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my question. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, she's asking about capitalization. In my experience, they don't really care about that. Yeah. All right. Any more questions? Okay. So here's the remaining questions. Remember, you actually have time to look at this. Don't forget that. You actually have time to look at this. So what should you be looking at? You should be looking at, this is going to be about trip 1. This is going to be about trip 2. This is the number of days. This is the distance. This is the price. Are they going to use the word price? Yes or no? Maybe not. Maybe not, right? We don't know. We don't know, right? And then finally, includes. Doesn't that mean all of these are nouns? Yes or no? Doesn't that mean all of these are nouns, right? So make sure you're writing down some kind of noun. And then what I like to do, because remember, you have 30 seconds here. So another IELTS strategy you can do is you can predict. So number 7, for example, what's it going to be? Is it going to be a word or a number? It's going to be a number. Number 9, a word or a number? It's going to be a number. And then finally, look at this. We're talking about a trip. We're talking about a trip. What does a trip include? Take about 30 seconds and see if you can predict something. So room would not be a good guess because we already have the word accommodation, right? That would be a bad guess. How about meal? Is meal a good guess? I think so, but only one meal for a 12-day trip? Kind of weird. It's kind of. All right, you're going on a 12-day trip, you get one meal. But maybe it's like one meal a day. I don't know. Who knows, right? So another strategy you guys can do is you can do a prediction, right? And then finally, don't forget the directions, everybody. How many words am I allowed to write? I'm allowed to write one word and a number. So for example, would this be an acceptable answer? 12 kids, is that an acceptable answer? Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because I have one number and one word. All right. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Here we go.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
So, how many days are the trips and how much do they cost?
The first one I told you about is a self-drive tour through California, which lasts 12 days and covers 2,020 kilometers.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I apologize. So you'll notice that he never used the word distance. He used the word covers. So that's number one. Number two, I'm writing the word 2020 right here, not in the blank. Can somebody tell me why? What is IELTS trick? Do they like to give one answer or multiple answers? They like to give multiple answers. So what IELTS often does is they'll have the speaker make a mistake and then correct himself. They'll go, oh, I apologize. I mean to say 2,200 or something like that. So the only reason I did that is to allow for that possibility. It's a very common IELTS trick. I don't know if they're going to do it here. Let's listen.
The shortest journey is 206 kilometers, and the longest is 632 kilometers.
So what they're doing is he's not correcting himself, but he's trying to confuse you. So they're giving you more numbers. 206, and I forget, like 620 or whatever it is. Why are they doing this? They're doing this to confuse you. But remember, what are they asking for? They're asking for the total. The total is going to be 2,020. Okay, make sense? All right, let's keep reading, or keep listening.
The cost is £525 per person. That includes accommodation, car rental, and a flight.
Right there, boom. Again, changing vocab. Did he use the word one? Did he use the word one? No, he did not. So if you're sitting here waiting for the word one, you're like, okay, come on. Come on. And then they go, that's the end of section 1. You're like, what the hell? That's the end. I was listening for number 8. And you're completely confused, right? So again, they use the word So the correct answer is flight. A flight, right? If you're sitting there listening for 1 and it never comes, like, that's the end of section, you're like, what the hell happened? And like you're just sitting there on number 8. Yep, waiting for 1. Okay. Keep listening.
But no meals.
Okay. And the other trip?
That lasts 9 days, but you spend only 3 days on the road. You cover about 980 kilometers altogether.
So is that cheaper then?
Yes, it's almost £100 cheaper.
Boom, right there. The bad test taker immediately writes down 100. Isn't that what the bad test taker writes down? Oh yeah, 100 pounds. So again, they're trying to confuse you. Keep listening, keep listening.
It's £429 per person.
Right there. What is it? 429. Now, if you wrote down 425 because you think 525 minus 100 and you're really proud of yourself, you just got 0 points. Remember, he said about $100 cheaper or £100 cheaper. Okay, keep reading or keep listening.
Which is a good deal.
So that covers accommodation and car hire. What about flights?
So immediately they want us to write down the word flights, right? But I guarantee you he's going to say nope. Watch. He's going to say nope. Watch. Watch this.
They aren't included,
Boom.
but these hotels offer dinner in the...
They offer dinner. Dinner? Would you like some dinner? And of course, if you want to spell it like it's pronounced, dinner. But don't do that. Don't do that. You'll get 0 points. Dinner. Dinner.
price.
OK, well, thank you very much. I'll be in touch when I've had a chance to look at the brochure.
I'm pleased to help.
The brochure. In America, we say brochure. Brochure. Please pass me the brochure about the tea and the dinner. Okay. Any questions about this? Ruchika. Hey, Ruchika.
Hey, Greg, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. So, Greg, I might be wrong, but I'm just asking for just a better understanding. So, let's say the 9th question, we have the symbol in place. Let's say if that's not there, do we add that while we write the answer, or?
Personally, I would, but I think they usually include the symbol.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. Any more questions? Any more questions? Manvi. Hey, Manvi.
Hi, Greg.
Hey,
Am I audible?
you're audible.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask how many times do they play the recording?
Once.
Okay. And do we like use a pencil or a pen?
I
Why,
believe,
like,
because I haven't taken the IELTS, I haven't taken an official one. I
So-
believe they give you a pencil because they allow you to
So,
change your
yeah.
answers.
Yeah, because like we first entered 2020 and we were not sure if it would be 2020, it could be something else. So
Oh,
in
good
that-
question. Good question. So what we're looking at here is not actually the answer sheet. So you're allowed to write anything you want on this. So for example, you could write down 2020 and then like cross out stuff. And then at the end, they allow you to transfer your answers
Oh, to a different sheet.
to a different sheet. Yeah.
Okay. And total, how many recordings are there? Like this one is this is
Four. Because there's four
four.
sections. So this is number
Oh.
1. And then there's going to be another one which begins right here. So do you
Okay.
see 11, 12? This is the beginning of section 2.
in the listening part only.
Yep. No. Yeah. In the listening part, there's 4 sections.
So in the listening part there are 4. Okay.
So
okay.
section 1 is questions 1 through 10. Section 2 is 11 through 20. Section 3 is going to be 21 through 30. And then section 4 is 31 through 40. And then in theory, they increase in difficulty in theory. But I will say that I think 11 through 20 is usually the easiest because you don't have to spell anything. You don't have to write down anything. It's just multiple choice. Yeah, so in my opinion, in
Okay.
terms of easiness, this is the easiest. This is number 2. This is the third. And this is the hardest. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so let's take a look at this one. Section 2, everybody. Section 2. The key thing to notice here is the actual question. How many am I choosing? 1 or 2? Or 3 or 4? How many? You're choosing 2. But more importantly is this bad boy right here. Recently been improved. Now, does that mean they're going to use that language or are they going to change it? They're going to change it. So this is where the vocab stuff comes into play. All right, are you guys ready? Listen to this. Listen for things that have been improved, but they might not be using the word improved. They might be using the word updated. What's another word that they might be using? Renovated is a good choice. What's another word? Refurbished, maybe something like that. I know that's more about electronics, but maybe. Upgraded, how about that one? Upgraded, enhanced. Oops, that doesn't look. Enhanced, something like that. Okay, makes sense, everybody? Are you ready? Let's do it. I will not stop it. I will not stop it.
Section 2. You will hear a fitness manager of a leisure club talking to some new members. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 and 12. Now listen and answer questions 11 and 12.
On behalf of LP Clubs, I'd like to welcome you all here today. My name's Sandy Fisher, and I'm one of the fitness managers here. Before we start our tour of the club, I'll just run through some basic information about the facilities we have here, including recent improvements, and explain the types of membership available. Our greatest asset is probably our swimming pool, which at 25 metres isn't Olympic-sized, but now we've expanded it to 8 lanes, it's much wider. This means there are rarely more than a couple of people at a time in each lane. Unfortunately, there isn't space for an outdoor pool here, but the glass roof on the swimming pool is partly retractable, which means you can enjoy something of the open-air experience on warmer days. Our recently refurbished fitness suite has all the latest exercise equipment, including 10 new running machines and a wide range of weight training machines. Each member is given full training in how to operate the equipment, and there is always a trainer on duty to offer help and advice. Although we do have adult-only times after 6 and at certain times at weekends, children are well catered for. Older children continue to benefit from a wide range of tuition, anything from trampolining to yoga.
Okay,
Before you hear the rest of the talk,
let's talk about this. So they said that the pool was expanded. And of course, expanded means improved, right? However, they didn't say indoor or outdoor pool until the very end. And they said, unfortunately, we don't have an outdoor pool, which means, the indoor pool must have been expanded. Agree? And then finally, they never used the word gym, did they? What did they say? Fitness suite. Where are you going? I'm going to the fitness suite. Yes, yes. Would you like to join me? We're going to go exercise at the fitness suite. It's recently been refurbished. So, improved goes with refurbished, and then fitness suite goes with gym. Okay. Another thing that they did to trick you is, did they use the word training? Yes, they did. Did they use the word children? Yes, they did. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to confuse you here. Okay. Any questions about this? Any questions about how this works? All right. So I told you it's just a giant vocab test. That's what I said, right? So they never used the word improved. What did they say about the gym? Fitness suite. What did they say about improved? Refurbished. With the pool, they said expanded with improved. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and look at questions 13 to 20. I'm going to give you guys about, real quickly, usually questions 11 to 20 are multiple choice, but occasionally you have to do more of the write-ins, so I apologize for that. I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes. What I want you to do is identify words that you think they might change the vocabulary. So, for example, new members. Maybe they'll say new residents or new occupants or something like that. And maybe instead of describe, they use the word observe or talk about or, discuss, something like that. So take about 2 minutes. Try to identify any vocab that you think might be changing. Here's one more example. What's another word for compulsory, everybody? Mandatory, all obligatory, you have to, you have no choice, you must, something like that. Necessary. So everyone, take about 2 minutes. Try to identify these words. Okay. What do you guys think? Like, what's another word for equipment? Maybe machines? What do you think? Machines? Something like that? Use the gym, use the machines. Explained, you could have another word for explained. How about you'll be given? You'll be provided. Maybe they'll use the word provided. Yeah, Ritwick, made clear. I like that for explained. Gold members are given something to all the LP clubs. Maybe, again, they're provided with something or they're offered something. Given priority means that they have the first kind of bite at the apple, or they have the first choice or something like that. Premier members can bring, can, accommodate, or can... I'm assuming that this is going to be guests if I had to make a guess. And then members should always should never forget. Maybe they'll say something like, you should never forget, something like that. So I'm not going to stop this. I'm going to play it all the way through. Just keep in mind they might not be using the word here. They might be changing the vocab. And finally, look at the directions. How many words can I write, everybody? I can write 2 words. 2 words. Okay, here we go. Good luck.
You have some time to look at questions 13 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 13 to 20.
One thing all our members appreciate about us is that we take very good care of them. This starts on day 1 with your personal assessment. You are asked to fill in a questionnaire giving details of any health problems. One of our personal trainers will then go through this with you. The trainer will then take you through the safety rules for using the equipment in the fitness suite. During your next exercise session, a personal trainer will work with you to make sure you understand these. It's very important to do this because we really do want to avoid having any sports injuries. There's a lot more to looking after yourself than simply lifting weights. At the end of the personal assessment, the trainer will draw up a plan outlining what you should try to achieve within a 6-week period. This will then be reviewed at the end of the 6 weeks. Now, I'll just quickly run through the types of membership we have available. All members must pay a joining fee of £90 in addition to the rates for the monthly membership fees. Gold membership entitles you to free entry at all LP clubs. There are now LP clubs in all major cities and towns, so if you travel a lot, this will be a great advantage. Individual gold membership costs £50 a month, and joint membership for you and your partner will cost £75. Premium membership is for professional people whose work commitments make it difficult for them to use the club during the day. And so LP gives booking preferences to Premier members at peak times. This means you'll find it easier to book the sessions at times that suit you. Reciprocal arrangements with other LP clubs are available to Premier members. Premier membership is for individuals only, but you'll be sent passes for guests every month. The monthly fee is £65. You don't have to have any special clothes or equipment when you visit the club. We provide robes and hairdryers in the changing rooms, but it's very important to remember your photo card because you won't be able to get in without it. For people who aren't working during...
Okay. We're going to listen to this again and I'm going to stop it. I'm going to show you all of the changing vocab. All right, so this is changing vocab on steroids. Here we go.
Entitles you to free... At the end of the personal assessment, health problems. One of our
13 to 20.
One thing all our members appreciate about us is that we take very good care of them. This starts on day 1 with your personal assessment. You are asked to fill in a questionnaire giving details of any health problems.
Right there. She didn't use the word describe. What did she use? Instead of describe, what did she say? Giving details. Did you guys hear it? Giving details. So instead of using the word describe, she said giving details. So that's number 1. Let's look at number 2.
One of our personal trainers will then go through this with you. The trainer will then take you through the safety rules.
Right there. The trainer will take you through. Take you through means explain to you. Take you through means explain to you. So what are they explaining? They're explaining the safety rules.
For using the equipment in the fitness suite. During your next exercise session, a personal trainer will work with you to make sure you understand these. It's very important to do this because we really do want to avoid having any sports injuries. There's a lot more to looking after yourself than simply lifting weights. At the end of the personal assessment, the trainer will draw up a plan.
Will draw up. So the trainer will draw up a plan, right? Well, so let's take a look.
Outlining what you should try to achieve within a 6-week period. This will then be reviewed at the end of the 6 weeks.
So notice there, the trainer's drawing up a plan, and it's implied that this plan is being given to you. So the correct answer is plan.
Now, I'll just quickly run through the types of membership we have available. All members must
All members must. So instead of compulsory, what do they say? They said must.
pay a joining fee of £90
Joining fee.
in addition to the rates for the monthly membership fees. Gold membership entitles
Right there. Gold membership entitles you. So entitles means they have access, right? So entitles, right there, that means they're allowed to do it. So that is what they're using instead of are given.
you to free entry at all LP clubs.
Free entry.
There are now LP clubs in all major cities and towns. So if you travel a lot, this will be a great advantage. Individual gold membership costs £50 a month, and joint membership for you and your partner will cost £75. Premium membership is for professional people whose work commitments make it difficult for them to use the club during the day. And so LP gives booking preferences.
Gives booking preferences. Gives booking preferences. So that's how they're changing the vocabulary.
To Premier members at peak times.
At peak times. Did they say hours or did they say times? They said times, right? So right there.
This means you'll find it easier to book the sessions at times that suit you. Reciprocal arrangements with other LP clubs are available to Premier members. Premier membership is for individuals only, but you'll be sent passes for guests every month.
You'll be sent passes. So if you're sent passes, that means you can bring the guests every month. And then finally, the last one.
The monthly fee is £65. You don't have to have any special clothes or equipment when you visit the club. We provide robes and hair dryers in the changing rooms, but it's very important to remember your photo.
So again, they didn't say you should always take. They said you need to remember. Or it's very important to remember your photo card.
Photo card, because you won't be able to get in without it.
Okay, so what do you guys think about IELTS? Fun? Very British? Interesting? Yay? Different than TOEFL, right? Pretty different, right? So the good thing about IELTS is if this is your first exposure to it, does it get harder or easier the more you do? It gets easier. So before you panic and freak out, remember, how many practice tests do you have? 64. That is a lot of material. That is a lot of material. What we just looked at is half of one test. Half of one test. So what do we take away from this? We take away that really at the core, IELTS is a vocab test. IELTS is a vocab test. That's what you want to take away from this at the core. Number two, it's different than TOEFL. You're not looking for main idea. You're not looking for inferences or anything like that. You're really just looking for details. And number three, the IELTS does try to trick you. Sometimes they give multiple options. Sometimes speakers correct themselves, things like that. All right, so I'll take a couple questions. If anybody has any questions, I will be giving you guys homework, so don't fret. I will be giving you guys homework. Does anybody have any questions? All right, Rishika. Hey, Rishika.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask, first of all, say if I miss a blank. For example, if I miss this one, the 16th one, there is a compulsory blank, 90 pounds blank fee for members. Okay, and I mean, should I take a guess and write down registration because it's actually pretty close to joining, or should I?
I wouldn't, because you need the exact word. What that means is if you wrote down registration, you would get the wrong answer.
Okay, so they don't count synonyms.
No, they do not. And so that's why I would say if you miss one, just move on.
Okay, and another question I had, that was for, say, the 20th one, it says photo card, right? Now, some of us might want to write photo card as one word because it kind of does exist that way. So, would that be an issue?
It depends. So if they said I could only write one word and I wrote it like this, they could mark it wrong. Now, in America, we don't use the word photo card. We use ID card as two different words. In British English, is this one word? Do you know?
No, I'm not sure. I've just seen it being used as one word. That's why I asked.
Yeah, so the good news is at the back of all of these Cambridge books, they have an answer key. And whenever there's more than one option available, they will tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if photo card is one word. I think it's two words, but I don't know everything about British English.
So we have to, brush up on that, what they prefer, right?
Yeah, but like I said, the more you get used to it, the more you'll see that they like to use certain words. Yeah. Yeah,
Thank
for
you so
example, like how do you say yard in British English? So in America, we say yard, like front yard. How do you say yard in British English? They call it a garden. They call it a garden. In British English, you guys know the famous example, flat. In America, we call that an apartment. Right? So the more you do this, you start to get used to it. There's also differences in pronunciation. So for example, in American English, how do we say this word? We say this word as garage, but in British English, they say garage. Garage, right? So, you get used to these things. You start to notice it more and stuff like that. Hey, Niaz.
Hi, Greg.
Hey.
Can
Hey.
you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. What's up?
Can you hear me?
I think there's something wrong with your microphone, Niaz. You guys can hear me, right? Yeah. So if photo card is one word, let's imagine that I wrote this as two words, but in reality it's one word, which is possible because I don't really know British English that well. In that case, there is the possibility that I could get -1 here. So just be careful. Cool. All right, let's do one more question, then we'll call it a day. Hey, Ritwick, how are you?
Yeah, hi Greg.
Hey, what's up?
I wanted to ask around what spelling does matter, like
Yes, it does. Spelling does matter.
So we follow the English UK spelling.
They're both no. Yeah, they allow American spelling.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you spell something with American spelling, no problem. All right, everybody. I hope you had fun with this. I will be giving you guys homework, so make sure you check out the the Discord channel about this, and also the website. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.